I used to live in this small, quiet neighborhood in the outskirts of a mid-sized town. You know the kind. Old streetlights that barely work, cracked sidewalks, and a heavy silence after sundown. Nothing really ever happened there. It was the kind of place where everyone knew each other's dogs more than their neighbors, but we all still waved when passing by. I was renting a small upstairs unit above an old garage that used to belong to the original owner of the property. My landlord, Greg, had passed away a few years before I moved in. The current owner, some guy from out of state, rarely came by, so I mostly kept to myself. Just me, my music, and my late night walks. It started sometime in early November. The air was getting colder at night, and the leaves had mostly turned into brittle piles scattered along the sidewalks. One night, around maybe 1:30 a.m., I was sitting by my window finishing off a cup of instant coffee and watching the street. That's when I saw him for the first time. A tall man, thin, wearing a dark hoodie pulled low over his face. He walked slowly down the alleyway across from my place. The alley leads directly to a small cul-de-sac that backs onto the yard of a family I'd seen around a few times. A mom, dad, and their two kids. Twins. A boy and a girl. Maybe around 8 years old. At first I thought maybe he lived nearby, but he wasn't walking like someone headed home. He was moving cautiously, almost like he didn't want to make noise. I watched him reach the end of the alley and then stop. He stood completely still in the shadows, staring straight ahead at that family's house. It was weird, but I didn't think much of it at the time. Maybe it was some weirdo going through a bad breakup. Maybe he knew them. I told myself a lot of things. But then he came back the next night, and the night after that, and the night after that. Always around the same time, sometime between 1 and 2 in the morning. He'd come out of the alley, creep up to the same spot, and just watch. He never went up to the house, never touched anything, just stood there, watching through the back fence or the side windows. I should have called someone. I know that. I considered it more than once, but something about the guy freaked me out in a way I couldn't really explain. I didn't want to get involved, and part of me was morbidly curious. I wanted to see how far he'd go. It was like watching a live horror movie from my window. Wrong, I know, but I couldn't stop. About 2 weeks in, I started noticing something else. He never walked into the alley from the street. He always just appeared, like I'd glance out the window, and he'd be standing there already, half hidden in the dark. And then, one night, everything changed. It was a Friday night, cold but not freezing. I remember because I had my window cracked open and the breeze kept pushing in that sharp autumn smell, wet leaves and chimney smoke. The guy showed up like always, right on cue. I glanced down and saw him in his usual spot, just standing, watching, still as ever. The family's lights were on, probably finishing dinner or putting the kids to bed. A warm little snapshot of suburban life, completely unaware they were being watched. But then something happened. I was looking down at the guy, half focused, sipping my coffee, when suddenly he jerked. Violently, like something had startled him. He stumbled back a step, then another. Then he turned and ran. Just like that. Bolted down the alley like he was being chased, stumbling, tripping on his own feet. I watched him fall hard on the pavement, scramble up and keep going, disappearing into the dark. But the way he ran, it wasn't like someone who got caught. It was like someone who saw something they couldn't make sense of. Something that didn't belong there. I leaned forward to get a better look at where he had been standing, and for a split second, I swear I saw something move. Something dark, tall, almost like a shadow stepping away from the fence. But it didn't look like a person. Not exactly. It's hard to explain. It was like the darkness there had shape for a moment, like it moved with purpose, and then it was gone. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, told myself I was imagining things, but I couldn't shake it. The way that guy ran, he wasn't faking it, he was terrified. Like his brain couldn't process what he'd just seen. And here's the thing. He never came back. Not that night, not the next night, not ever again. I kept watching, every night for the next month. Nothing. No sign of him. Just that same quiet street, the same family living their lives, unaware. I thought about going over there, telling them, but what would I say? Hey, someone was watching your house for 2 weeks straight, but it's okay. Something scared him off? No way. So I stayed quiet. The weeks went by, and I started to forget about it. Kind of. But there was still something that kept tugging at me. That shadow. That shape. Then I remembered something. The landlord. Greg. The guy who used to own this place. I'd heard from a neighbor that he died just outside that same alley. Heart attack, I think. He was found lying face down in the street one morning. No one had seen him go out. No one knew why he was there that late. I don't know. Maybe it's stupid, but sometimes I wonder, was that him? Was that Greg, or something tied to this place? Was whatever scared that stalker away the same thing that found Greg in that alley all those years ago? I'll never really know. The air around here has felt different, heavier, especially late at night, like someone or something is still out there, watching, waiting. Not for me, maybe, but for someone who steps too far into the shadows, someone who doesn't know when to leave well enough alone, someone like him. Whatever he saw out there, it knew he was watching, and it watched him back. I don't even know why I'm telling this. I've only talked about it once, maybe twice in passing. Never really gave people the full story. It's one of those things you want to forget, but it sticks with you like something rotting in your mind. This happened last year, on a Friday night. I'd gotten fired earlier that day. My manager called me into the office, gave me a whole speech about downsizing and nothing personal. But I knew it was coming. They'd been finding ways to push me out for weeks. Stilt me hard. I'd been there 3 years. Showed up on time, did my work, never caused problems. Didn't matter. By the time I got home, I couldn't even look my parents in the eye. I was already feeling like a failure, and their expectations just made it worse. I'm not the kind of guy who drinks. Never been to a bar alone. But that night, something in me just snapped. I needed to not feel anything. Just for a while. There was a place about a 15-minute walk from my apartment. A bar I always passed by but never stepped inside. Small, kind of dirty looking. Neon beer signs in the window. You could hear the music from down the block, not the kind of place I belong in. But that night, I didn't care. I walked in, sat at the far end of the bar, and ordered whatever the guy next to me was drinking. Some kind of cheap whiskey. Burned, going down, made my head feel light after 2 shots. That was enough for me. I remember the way the air shifted when they came in. A group of 5 or 6 guys, big dudes, biker types. Leather jackets, chains, tattoos all over their necks. They were loud, already drunk, and the whole bar seemed to revolve around them. One of them noticed me right away. I guess I stuck out. Some quiet, scrawny guy sitting stiff at the bar, first-time drinker, clearly not one of the regulars. They started laughing loud, nudging each other, throwing glances my way. I tried not to look at them, but it didn't help. One of them, the tallest, walked over, leaned down next to me and said, "Hey, new guy, you lost or something?" I gave a nervous chuckle and said, "Just having a drink." He stared at me for a second, then smirked and said something to his buddies I couldn't hear. They laughed like it was the funniest thing ever. I tried to ignore them, but it got worse. They kept making comments, calling me names under their breath, bumping into me every time they passed by. I felt like a bug under a magnifying glass. After maybe 40 minutes, I'd had enough. I left some cash on the bar and walked out. My head was spinning a little from the whiskey, but I wasn't stumbling, just light. Cold air hit me the second I stepped outside, helped clear my head. The streets were quiet. It was late enough that most people had gone home, but not so late that you'd expect total silence. I remember thinking it was weird how empty everything felt. The kind of stillness that makes your skin itch. I made it a couple blocks before I heard the door behind me slam open. I glanced back and saw the tall guy from the bar, same one who'd been messing with me the most. He was yelling, "Hey, you think you can just walk away?" I stopped for a second, confused. I didn't say anything to him. What the hell did I do? Then he shouted, "I'm gonna kill you, you little rat. You're not going home tonight." That's when I ran. I didn't look back right away. I just bolted down the nearest alley, heart pounding like it was about to explode. I wasn't thinking, just running. But then I heard more footsteps. I glanced back. There were two men now. The biker was in front, just behind me, and behind him, another guy. A second man I didn't recognize. He wasn't part of the group from the bar. He was just there, running silently, fast, focused. At first, I thought maybe the guy behind him was trying to help me. Maybe someone saw what was happening and was stepping in. But that wasn't it. Suddenly, there was a loud thud behind me. I stopped and turned around. The biker was on the ground, face down, scrambling to get up, clearly stunned. The second man was standing over him, breathing heavy, fists clenched. Then he said, loud enough for me to hear, "You said you'd bring it to me tonight. Where is it?" The biker was trying to speak, but the guy cut him off. "You've been lying to me for weeks. You think I'm stupid? You think you can cheat me?" The guy started kicking him, hard, then punches. It got violent fast, and there was no one around, not a single person. Just the echo of fists hitting skin, grunts, the biker groaning and trying to shield his face. I stood frozen for maybe 10 seconds, completely stunned. Then I made the choice. I turned and kept walking, quietly, fast. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want that guy to think I saw too much. I took a different route home, back alleys, side streets, kept checking behind me. But no one followed. When I finally got home, I locked the door and sat on the floor for almost an hour just trying to make sense of it. The next day, I woke up to local news. Headline read, "Biker gang member hospitalized after brutal beating, rival suspected." Same guy. His name was mentioned. Part of a gang known for moving drugs in and out of that bar. Apparently he owed someone money, or something went bad in a deal. The guy who beat him almost killed him. They said it was a miracle he survived. No arrests, no names, just speculation. But I knew what I saw. That second man wasn't trying to help me. He wasn't there for me. He was there for him, the guy who was chasing me. I never went back to that bar again. I don't even walk past it anymore. I quit drinking completely. Just that one night was enough to teach me how fast things can spiral when you're not in control of your choices. Getting fired was bad, yeah. But if that second man had shown up 30 seconds later, or not at all, I don't think I'd be here right now. It still makes my stomach turn thinking about how close I came to being alone in a dark alley with a drunk guy who wanted to take out all his rage on me. I guess the universe works in strange ways. That night I wasn't the victim, but I wasn't the target either. I was just caught in the middle, and someone much worse was waiting for the man who thought he was hunting me. If there's anything I took from that night, it's this. Some people are dangerous, but there's always someone out there even worse. I don't talk about this often, not because I'm scared people won't believe me, but because I honestly still don't understand what exactly happened. It was just a camping trip. That's all it was supposed to be. Me and my girlfriend, Emma, we've always liked the outdoors. We're not hardcore survivalists or anything like that, just two people who enjoy disconnecting from everything once in a while. No service, no noise, just trees, stars, and quiet. This was about 2 years ago, early fall. Days still warm enough to hike in a t-shirt, but nights were getting cold. We had this long weekend coming up, and we figured it'd be the last chance to get out there before winter hit. We packed light, tent, food, the basics, and drove out to a spot I'd been to a couple times before, out in the Pacific Northwest. This wasn't a national park, just deep forest. Some old trailheads, barely marked. But I liked it that way. The fewer people around, the better. We parked the car and hiked in maybe 3 or 4 miles the first day, found a clearing next to a small stream, set up camp, cooked a little dinner over the fire. I remember we were laughing a lot that night. It felt good. That changed around 2 a.m. I woke up to a sound that didn't fit. At first, I thought it was an animal. You hear all kinds of weird noises at night. Raccoons, owls, coyotes in the distance. But this wasn't like that. This was whispering, right outside the tent. It wasn't loud, more like hushed voices, like two people trying to talk quietly without waking us up. I didn't move, just lay there with my eyes open, listening. I couldn't make out what they were saying. It didn't sound panicked or aggressive, just calm, deliberate. That scared me more than if they'd been yelling. I gently shifted my weight and let out a fake cough. Nothing loud, just enough to make a noise. The whispering stopped immediately. Then I heard soft footsteps, crunching leaves, backing away. They didn't run, they just retreated. I waited, holding my breath. I didn't wake Emma. I don't know why. I think I was hoping it was nothing. Maybe hikers that got turned around or something. In the morning, I told her what happened. She got quiet, kind of pale. Then she said, "I had a weird dream last night, like someone was watching us." We didn't talk about it much after that, but we agreed to pack up and move further in, just in case. Maybe they'd keep walking if we were out of sight. We hiked another 2 miles into denser forest, found a rocky little spot with a narrow ridge behind it. Felt more secure, no easy way to approach without making noise. That second day was fine. We spent the afternoon cooking, relaxing, talking. Emma brought a little travel journal and was sketching stuff. I felt like we'd left whatever weirdness we'd experienced behind. Then night came. Around 9 p.m. as we were winding down for bed, we both heard something moving in the trees. We froze, listened. Footsteps, light ones, staying just out of sight beyond the firelight. I called out, "Who's there?" No answer, just silence. I grabbed a flashlight and aimed it into the woods. Nothing. We circled the camp once, stayed alert, but eventually went back to the tent. We zipped it shut and just lay there in the dark. That's when the whistling started. 2 long, drawn-out notes, high-pitched, from somewhere deep in the trees. Then a pause, and another whistle. But this one came from a different direction. It was like they were circling us, playing a game. Emma gripped my hand and whispered, "That's not animals." I didn't respond. I knew she was right. We started yelling, told them to get lost, that we weren't playing games. Emma screamed, "Go find something better to do." And that's when the rocks started hitting the tent. Not big ones, not enough to hurt us, just enough to let us know they were out there. It felt like the whole forest was laughing at us. Emma started crying quietly. I pulled her close and just held her. We couldn't leave. It was pitch black. We didn't know the trails well enough to risk it, so we just waited. Then, just after midnight, everything changed. There was this growl, not a human growl, not something fake. It was deep, guttural, like it came from a chest the size of a refrigerator. Then a heavy thump shook the ground. Something had dropped or landed, I don't know. We heard a scream, not ours, someone else. A high, panicked scream, followed by running, fast, clumsy, crashing through the brush. Multiple people running away from our camp. Something had scared them, badly. We just laid there, barely breathing. And then we heard it, something breathing just outside our tent. Heavy, slow, deliberate. I know that sound. I grew up in Montana, I've heard it before. It was a grizzly. It circled our tent slowly. We didn't move a muscle. Emma had stopped crying. She was frozen. The bear didn't touch the tent. We heard it walk over to the fire pit and start sniffing around. Then we heard the cooler pop open. It took the salmon we'd wrapped in foil and left out. It rummaged a bit longer, then wandered off. We heard branches snapping, then nothing. I waited at least 10 minutes before I unzipped the tent and looked out. The forest was still again, just cold air and quiet trees. But the cooler was open and the salmon was gone. I told Emma it was safe now. She nodded but didn't say anything. She curled up and fell asleep, probably from exhaustion and stress. I sat up the rest of the night with a flashlight and my pocket knife, just watching the woods. Nothing else happened. At first light, we packed everything up. No breakfast, no coffee, just stuffed it all in our packs and hiked straight out. Didn't stop, didn't talk. We got back to the car around noon and drove straight home. We never went camping again after that. I still don't know what was out there. I don't know who those people were or what they wanted. But I know one thing. That bear, it wasn't there for us. And I think it scared off something or someone that was. We told our families and friends. They joked about the bear saving us like it was a funny story. But they didn't hear those whispers. They didn't hear the whistles or the rocks. I don't think they believed us. I don't care. What scares me most now isn't bears or even being in the woods. It's knowing that people out there will follow strangers into the forest just to mess with them. And maybe next time, nothing will scare them off.